Are live. All right, sports update. Adrian Reid was good.
What's good?
Yep.
Another episode. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and dive right into the Jimmy Butler saga right now. He was suspended for the third time by the Miami Heat. Monday they told him he wasn't going to be starting. He was going to be coming off the bench. He walked out of practice. So Adrian, where you at with this whole Jimmy Butler saga?
It goes to the point to show you Jimmy Butler showed you who we are. Like we talk about all the time with people in life, people are gonna tell you who they are. Chicago he left, forced his way out. Minnesota he forced his way out. Philly I'll give him a pass on. They kind of decided to take Tobias over him instead, which I think was a huge mistake. He can't even get along with Miami and Pat Riley right now. It comes to the point where NBA players are forcing their way out. We've seen it time and time and time and time again, and I'm all for player empowerment and player movement. He's playing for one of the best coaches and organizations in the NBA, and Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra and the Heat. I think it comes down to Jimmy wants more money than Pat's willing to give him. Now he's just forcing his way out of Miami, being super petty. He's being really unprofessional. I think it just comes with the whole NBA movement right now. These guys, you can make 15 points per game, and I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but you can make 15 points. You can make average 15 points a game, and you're going to make $100 million. It's crazy. Jimmy Butler wants his max contract. He's not going to get it. He's more on the decline than he thinks he is. His best career average is 23 points a game. And mind you, he's got Miami to the finals once in the bubble, and I'm all for it. But I think he's making a huge mistake here. But the Heat are going to give him what he wants, and he's made the relationship untenable, which means he's getting suspended on purpose. Rod and Reid, he's not gonna walk. He walked out on practice on purpose. He knew that was gonna get him suspended again. He doesn't care about the fines. He can probably find a way to get that money back from the NBPA. And it's just causing so much friction in between. It's been going on since last summer. Jimmy's been calculating this and just plotting this from last summer when he knew he wasn't getting the contract from the Heat, and it just continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think it's just best for both sides to just part ways. Now that I know the Heat have talked about their lessening the value they want in return from Jimmy because they want him out of the building, and it's a terrible situation. I just hate that the NBA is going to let it get to this point where these players are forcing their way out of situations that they don't want to be in, even if they're making a boatload of money. In my opinion, it's just ridiculous. I won't go on a soapbox or anything like that, but people are wondering why the NBA ratings are down. We care more about what's going on off the court than what's going on the court. Guys don't stay on the court. Guys are crying about contracts. They're making a guaranteed boatload of money. And this stuff still happens, man. I can't get with it. He's going to go somewhere. I don't know where it's going to go. Pat Riley's probably going to try to get him to a Midland team, but I don't think it's going to happen because now Jimmy Butler has all the leverage pretty much. But I think at this point, the Heat don't care. They just want to get him out of the building.
I think the problem with Jimmy Butler is all the teams that could probably use him are teams that he's already played for. Like the Timberwolves could probably help them. Philly could probably use him, but again, I think it's just all teams that he's kind of already been ran out of the building. And like Adrian said, yeah, player empowerment's good, but it all just depends on at some point you got to realize that maybe the player is feeling a little too empowered, and I think Jimmy Butler is kind of thinking he's worth the juice is worth more than the squeeze when it's not with him. I think he's he's obviously a former All-Star. I think he can still be a solid player, but I think he's going to be more of like a role star than an All-Star on a team. You know what I mean? So if he goes to I don't think he's going to go here, but if he goes to a Maverick, so to speak, like he's not going to be the guy on the Mavericks. Like Luka is obviously the guy. Kyrie's still there. Like you go to Denver or something, he's not going to be the guy anywhere. So yeah, I think he's not doing himself any favors getting suspended all this time. And I just don't know if it's going to help him get traded, honestly. Maybe teams are going to look at it and be like, okay, we don't want this guy on our team because of the way that he's acting. So I'm interested to see how it plays out, but I just don't think I don't think it's a good look for Jimmy right now.
Yeah, definitely not a good look. I think as far as the landing spot, I think Memphis would be a good landing spot. I think Ja needs some more pieces around him. Get Ja some help. You want to see him as much. He'll be in the Western Conference. I like Memphis. I think Memphis is a good landing spot.
I think he said specifically that he doesn't want to go to Memphis. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think the most likely landing spots or the perfect spots would be Reid said Dallas was when I was thinking. Golden State not so much because they need a lot more help than what people realize. Also, maybe like a Phoenix would be good because he'd be a defender, and they want to get rid of Nurkic. He doesn't want to be there. Also, maybe I think the sleeper, in my opinion, is Milwaukee. I think that Jimmy would actually fit perfect on Milwaukee. He's not gonna bully Giannis. He's not gonna bully Dame. I think that's the kind of guy that would kind of need to kind of really elevate them. But it's very few teams that could use him and his intensity and what he brings to the game. But he knows his career is closer to the end than it is to the beginning. So I think he is trying to hit the gas because I've heard he's been frustrated with Miami and them bringing in stars, which I can understand. But like I said, I think it's the way you go about it. This is just this whole situation went from 1 to 10 real quick. I didn't think it would get this bad, and here we are.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. David says, send him to Canada. Don't do him any favors.
Send him to the Raptors.
Oh, man, they sent him up there, boy. That'd be all bad. Hey, well, last time a guy got shipped out to Toronto, he won a championship, Kawhi. So,
hey, the Warriors' whole team the Warriors' entire team was depleted. KD doesn't tear his Achilles and Clay doesn't blow his ACL out. I think the Warriors end up finding a way to win that series.
Right. Yeah. I don't think the Raptors are Jimmy Butler away from a championship right now. All right. So the NBA trade deadline is next Thursday, the 6th. So Reid, any moves you want to see the Pistons make by the deadline?
Yeah, I would like to see maybe if they could get Brandon Ingram. I think you've talked about him in the past. I think he'd be a good fit. I think you could end up maybe getting away with sending Tim Hardaway and some draft capital for Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram kind of wants out. They know that they gotta reset. So I think he'd be good. You could put him at the 3 for sure, and still keep Tobias at the 4 if you wanted. And then obviously if Duran. But yeah, I think Brandon Ingram would be good. Who was another? I said someone else the other day, and I forgot who it was. But Cam Johnson from Brooklyn. I don't know if you necessarily would get him because they did sign him to a contract. He is still young. He's a shooter, but he's a guy that would help Cade obviously still create space. That'd be another guy you would trade, Tim Hardaway or like Fontecchio and some draft capital. You might have to get rid of one of the young guys. Maybe I could see maybe Asar getting shipped out just because he wasn't fully healthy. He's played a little bit better, but I think that they're kind of seeing the offensive struggle. So maybe he could go. I would hate to see that, but Cam and BI would probably be 2 guys I would look at for the Pistons.
Yeah, I mean they've been. I heard Troy was talking to Beasley about maybe trading him if he gets a good offer on the table. They would trade him. So I know they want to probably get a contract done with him, which I would. He's a guy I more so want to keep just because of Pistons have signed all these veterans over the years who he thought would be good. From let's go back all the way to AI to T-Mac to Chris Webber. None of them had just from Blake Griffin. I will say Blake Griffin. That time he was here,
he's the last time they went to the playoffs was because of Blake.
Yeah, so just like most time they get these older veterans, it never works. So you get a guy that works, you got to find a way to keep him. I believe, unless you get a deal that just blows you away, I'm keeping him. He's especially with Ivy being out right now. He's been your second best player, arguably, on the team in that time. So I think you find a way. I mean, like I said, if you could get a Cam Johnson, I agree with Reid. That would be the perfect fit. I think the Pistons should have signed him 2 years ago when he was a restricted free agent, and they decided not to pull the trigger. But he would be a perfect fit on this team. Be great. I don't think Trajan's going to make any big moves, but if you can get something that's going to elevate the roster a little bit, I wasn't a big fan of Fontecchio when we signed him. I don't think he's really giving the Pistons too much of anything. If you can get something for him, him Hardaway maybe for somebody, I'd be okay with that. Ingram, problem with Ingram is he's about to be a free agent. He's going to want a ton of money, but he's always hurt. But he's an elite. He's an elite wing player that the NBA tries for. So I think he would be good. But that's a guy that depends on what you want to give up for. But there is the rumor that New Orleans is going to make a major trade. So could that be Ingram? Could that be Zion? I don't know, but I think the Pistons, if they do make a move, it's going to be something very minor, nothing too crazy.
If I'm New Orleans, I'm trading Zion and Brandon Ingram because Zion's never healthy and Brandon Ingram's going to go somewhere anyway. So I would trade both those guys and get everything I could for them, draft capital wise.
Yeah, that's a part of the problem with the NBA right now. Reason why the ratings are down. The superstars don't play. The Embiids, the Zions, the Jazz. These guys are never playing. That's a big part of the problem right there.
Which is why I have so much respect for Anthony Edwards, because he's a guy who's really passionate about the game. He cares. He plays. You know what I mean? There's certain guys. As much flack as people give LeBron's always out there. LeBron doesn't take any days off, so I don't want to hear any of these guys complain about injuries. This guy's 40 years old and he's playing still at a all NBA level. AD's actually been out on the court pretty much the last 2 years, last year and a half. So I'll give him his credit where credit is due. Even a guy like LaMelo, I'm a big fan of him. He's been in and out the lineup. Brandon Miller has been hurt. It could go on. Apollo, that was a freak injury. I'm a big fan of his. Jason Tatum's always out on the court. Jaylen Brown, Derek White, a lot of superstars.
Jaden Ivey's always out on the court. I know he's younger, but Jaden Ivey's always on the court. But that freak injury, hurt him. So.
The thing is, guys, all our audience could attest to this. All we ask is guys play hard. That's what we want as fans. We want to go to the games and hey, we could have went this Friday and seen Luka, but he's not gonna play. Guess what? Because he's always hurt and doesn't take care of his body because he doesn't care. He's making a boat ton of money and he just is.
Who always plays for at least the most part? Jokic. He plays every game, damn near. And that dude's walking around. I mean, talk about a guy who doesn't take care of his body, but he just never seems to get hurt. But he doesn't do like the craziest stuff. Obviously, he's not going crazy and dunking and doing all that. But I mean, he's a durable guy too. So
and he plays at that high altitude too. So
yeah,
I get for that.
Yeah,
we just want to see guys play. Even like Donovan Mitchell, I'm always seeing him out on the court. Darius Garland, Evan Mobley. I'm a fan of some of these younger guys, but some of these older guys, some of these guys who are they just take advantage, man, and it just pisses me off and it frustrates me that, the NBA is not the game we all loved growing up in the 2010s. And you seeing T-Mac and KG and Dirk and Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Kobe, even early Shaq. These guys play hard. And Pistons are one of the few teams in the NBA right now. The reason why they're even is where they're at is because not only they're much improved, but they actually play hard with some effort. It doesn't take a lot. Like, come on, man. You can see when the guys out there milking it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a gift and a curse when you give a 22, 23-year-old that's kind of lazy, kind of unmotivated. You give him $200 million. It could kind of blow up to it could highlight some of his worst features. You know what I'm saying? It can make guy lazy and unfocused.
I don't know if you guys listen to. I do listen to PG's podcast. He's one of my favorite players growing up. But he recently had Adrian Drummond on there. We know their teammates now in Philly. Andre Drummond said Detroit was his favorite place to play. Said he still has a house here. Sister owns it, whatever. But he was saying he kind of wished that he worked on his game a little more. He said that's one of his biggest regrets that he didn't work on his game like he did. But he said now looking back on it, if he had that mentality, it would have been a lot different. Which I can respect him for reflecting on and looking back on where he is now, because I kind of agree with him. He could have been much better than he actually was.
That's why you talk about this Pistons team. I like them too because they are a bunch of young guys, but they're a bunch of young guys that are still playing hard. Like Cade still plays hard, even though he just got signed. He's having one of the best years that he's had. Jaden Ivey still plays hard, even though he hasn't, gotten his contract, fully paid. Like you still have a lot of the young guys on this team. Like even Asar, who's, he had that blood clot issue. That's one of the guys who I think would be on the court a lot. But you get a freak injury like that, takes you off. Holland, who they have, seems to have a high motor. I mean, Beasley's an older guy, but he looks like he's playing, high motor. And another thing that it's a blessing and a curse with this Pistons team, really, more of a curse. But it seems like when they play a lot of teams, and I guess it's probably because they're a younger team and it's Detroit, they're not as respected. They don't get a lot of whistle. They don't get a lot of whistle play, a lot of foul calls. I would like to see look up what their foul percentage is per game versus other teams, or how many free throws they take across the league, because it seems like whenever I watch a game, when I have to stream it because they black it out in my area when it's on national TV, or when I have YouTube TV and they don't give you FanDuel network, but I just see like you look at these guys, like if you look at when Embiid's playing, he gets a loose whistle. SGA is known to have a very loose whistle when he drives to the basket. Luka gets a very loose whistle. So I'm just the Pistons seem to be a little bit lower in the free throw category, at least when I watch the games. So, but I like how they play hard. You know, you talk about teams of old back in the 2000s, 2010s, like they all played hard, and the whistles weren't really as like, you know, even the era of prime LeBron. I know a lot of people claim he flops a lot and there was all that, but I mean, he still played hard. And you look at some of those games, like those Heat games when he was him and D Wade, like it was impressive stuff that they were doing. So you just don't see a lot of that anymore.
Yeah, sure. Real quick before we move on, the NBA, De'Aaron Fox. Rich Paul did tell the team the reason why this is happening is Rich Paul informed the team that it's better to move on from the start now rather than later. He's an impending free agent after next season, which means any team who trades him will at least have one season of control under him and can work a contract extension. You know, it's been a mess with the Sacramento Kings. They a couple years ago they made the playoffs for the first time in 15, 16 years. A long drought, ended up losing to the Warriors in a 7-game series. But he's going to be a top guy on the market if they do trade him. The Kings have opened up discussions, and we are a week from Thursday is the NBA trade deadline. So
I have a team in mind. Who do you guys think? Where do you think he should go?
San Antonio.
That's one. That wasn't who I had in mind, but that's a good team.
Miami would have been your other one, I would have guessed.
Or Orlando.
I just don't know if I just don't know if this team has the assets, but I think Minnesota would be a very good spot for him to land.
Oh, yeah. So what do you think? I
don't know what you have to give up. Julius Randle would be a part of it.
Didn't Minnesota just draft a point guard from Kentucky last year?
Yeah, but Dillingham is a smaller guy. He's gonna
like a Mike Conley.
Yeah, he's gonna need time to develop still. So like, you know, you're not gonna like if you sign De'Aaron Fox and you still have Dillingham, like you can also put De'Aaron Fox at a 2 if you wanted as well. Like you don't have to keep him as like a true point, but I think he'd be good on Minnesota. And I mean, or you could trade Dillingham and then extend De'Aaron Fox. I mean, how old is he? De'Aaron Fox is probably like 26.
Yes, let me double check. I think he's 27 or 28.
But trade, I mean, I don't know. I know Julius Randle isn't the hottest commodity, but he still plays okay. You know, trade him.
Maybe Fox is 27. His birthday is in December 20th, so he just turned 27 a month ago.
Yeah, so I mean, he's still young. I mean, I would look into a trade package for him. I mean, I think Minnesota would be a good spot for him to land. Personally, I think San Antonio would be too. But you know, what ultimately are you getting? What teams are ultimately getting rid of? Because you know that they're going to want. I mean, like you just said, he just turned 27. He's been a top point guard in the league in Sacramento, out of all places. So, yeah, it just. I mean, Sacramento's probably going to try and get a bag for him. I would assume. Like I'm talking, there are going to be like 3 first-round picks attached to him.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but that's how they go nowadays with these superstars. Like, I mean, first-round picks are. I mean, if you're trading them, if you send them to Minnesota, San Antonio, they're all going to be protected picks because San Antonio's doesn't have the greatest roster, so they'll all be first-round protected to probably 10, and then one of them will probably be protected until. Or they'll be protected to 15 and one of them will be protected to 10 or something like that. Like they're all going to be protected first-round picks. I know it sounds like a lot, but people also didn't think the Suns were going to get, the Suns gave up 3 first-round picks for KD, didn't they, when they first traded for him? Yeah, and I get it. But KD was also a lot older too and injured, coming off an injury. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3 or 4 first rounds, to be honest. 4 might be a lot, but I could see 3.
Okay. Get some of the feedback here. We got Rob in the building. He says, watching on the fridge at work, Reid that had it strong.
If anybody knows, Rob also works at a Lowe's, and he's watching on one of those Samsung fridges with the screens on them.
Sent us a screenshot in the group.
Yeah, he always sends us pictures. He's always catching up on his latest wrestling highlights on those, I think.
Shout out Rob, man. DC says Jason Tatum plays a lot too.
Yeah, except for when he ruins my parlays for not scoring in the first half.
All right, so yeah, let's
Jaylen Brown. Sorry, not to interrupt. Jaylen Brown plays a lot too. That was a guy I forgot to mention. Jalen
Yeah,
Brown.
it seemed like all the Boston guys, well, except for Porzingis, pretty much play a lot.
Yeah. I mean, injury prone guy, but yeah.
All right, so yeah, let's switch over to the Lions. Get some NFL in here. So Reid, the Lions, they did hire Johnny Morton, who was the former pass game coordinator for the Broncos, as their new offensive coordinator. The defense they hired within former linebacker coach Kelvin Shepard got promoted up to defensive coordinator. So how do you like these hires for the Lions?
I'll start with defense. I actually like Kelvin Shepard. I think I said, maybe I said it on one of the shows, maybe not. I may have texted. I think I said that he would be the good replacement for Aaron Glenn. I know I've said it in the past. I said if Aaron Glenn leaves, I would probably promote him on the defensive side of the ball, because I don't really know any other, can think of any other guys that are on the defensive side of the ball that would probably – and you saw that Hard Knocks on him with the players when they had the Lions on there. I think he'd just be a really good defensive coordinator. I think the guys will get behind him. It just all depends on how he schemes them up. He's going to have, obviously, a really good rookie year coaching. I mean, it's tough, too. He will be a rookie coordinator. He's never been a coordinator before. Previously, this is his first coaching job. Was with the Lions when he was the linebacker coach. So it'll be interesting to see that. And then, but he's, if he gets a lot of guys healthy, I mean, Aiden should be relatively healthy by the time he gets back. Whether they re-sign Carlton Davis or if they get another stud cornerback, hopefully Terrion Arnold is back, or Terrion Arnold's, picked up, Rakestraw's back. Aleem, probably going to see him a little bit later in the season. He's not going to be back right away. Depending on what they draft, maybe they could draft the interior defensive guy. Free agents they sign, he's going to have a lot to work with. So as far as Morton on the other side of the ball, he has everything to work with. The offense was great last season. Ben Johnson's obviously off to Chicago, but he has all the weapons to work with. He was an offensive coordinator for the Jets when they had Todd Bowles. Fun fact, former Lions wide receiver too. I saw him back in the 90s, I believe, maybe 94 or something. I think it was. Morton. Yeah. So he's got that tie here too as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see. I'm still a little bit hesitant to say it's a good hire because I don't really know a whole lot about him. I mean, he took the passing game coordinator for the Broncos, and the Broncos went to the playoffs. I mean, obviously Sean Payton's there, but he has something to play in that, and Dan's familiar with him. If Sean Payton brought him on his staff, he's familiar with him. They've coached all together. So, yeah, I'm like Shepard. I'm like a 95%. Like this is the guy. Morton, I'm like a 65, 70. Just because he's the only coordinator job he had was with the Jets, and the Jets are god awful. So I can't fault him for that. I don't know who was on that roster when Todd Bowles was the head coach there.
I trust the Lions a little bit. I don't know too much about the Johnny Morton. It's not the same Johnny Morton I'm thinking of that played for the Lions in the 90s, is it?
He was a wide receiver for that.
I don't think it's the same Johnny.
Yeah, Morton. I think this is a different Johnny Morton. Okay. This Johnny Morton's white. No offense, nothing taken, but
no, there was a white guy on the team. I thought I saw something about
Johnny Morton. I swear Johnny Morton was a black guy. We're 84.
Yeah, Johnny
84. Yeah, he was like
let me see if I can find what I was looking at.
But anyways, yeah, I just think it's a lot of shuffling going on right for the Lions. I think it'll be fine. I think Jared Goff probably had some input on this, so if he's hired, I think Jared Goff trusts this process, so I think he'll be okay. He has a lot more to work with than he did when he was with the Jets. I mean, you see what the Broncos did this past season. Bo Nix had a great rookie year, so I think he'll even have more weapons coming over here to Detroit. So I think he'll be fine. He has familiarity with a lot of the players. So I think they'll find a way to make it work. It might take a little time, but in that time adjusting, just run the football. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They're going to go, I think, in the trenches in the draft. Mind you, then they did promote Calvin Shepard to linebacker coach. I mean, not linebacker coach, DC. So I think that was a good move by them. They need to keep him in. He was a good guy for them. And then promoted Sean Dion Hamilton take his spot as linebackers coach. I think it's just a lot of shuffling for the Lions, but I think they'll be okay. It's just, this is what happens. We talked about this last week. This is what happens when you are successful. Teams are going to come poach coaches off your staff, and you got to be able to develop. Maybe Dan Campbell can have his own coaching tree, so that's not a bad sign. Guys will want to come here and coach and want to be with this team, and it will only keep going from here. So I think it's more of a good thing than people want to say it's a bad thing, in my opinion.
Also, forgot to mention that they hired Casey Rogers from the from the Bucks for their new defensive line coach to fill in for Terrence Williams, who left to go be the DC for the Patriots. So they did get that. They got they brought back a new defensive line coach as well from the Bucks, which the Bucks had a really good defensive line and obviously had good players, but that'll be good to see him to see a new guy come in too, maybe, be another guy that'll go on to a coordinator job. So I was a little surprised they didn't hire Erkstrand, whatever the guy's name, Tanner. I think he was the tight ends coach again. He studied under Ben Johnson. And then I was also a little surprised that Scotty Montgomery's name wasn't mentioned either, who's an assistant coach, and he was the run game coordinator too. So those are two guys I thought might have gotten the job, but lo and behold, they got the guy that they wanted. They went after the guy that they wanted. And I think Jared Goff, because he was here in 2022 is when Barry Morton was here. So I'm sure Jared Goff wanted him. And then Dan Campbell said he also, he'll recommend a guy to Brad Holmes, and if Brad Holmes doesn't like him, then they won't hire him. So Brad Holmes had to vet this hiring too. So if those two like it, then I'll trust them.
Okay.
Michigan State's up 21-8.
21-8.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, Michigan State playing Minnesota tonight. All right, so So speaking of the Lions defensive coordinators, Aaron Glenn, now the coach of the New York Jets. So, Adrian, what do you think he should do with Aaron Rodgers? Should he bring Aaron Rodgers back, or should he move on from him?
Aaron Rodgers got to go. It's time to move on. They're going to have a bridge quarterback for the year, whether it's Tyrod Taylor, whoever they decide to go get free agency. But I think that is the best move for the Jets, is to just move on, fresh start. Aaron Glenn can do his thing. He doesn't have to worry about the New York media asking all these questions about Aaron Rodgers. Meaning he played there, so you understand what comes with the pressure of playing in New York. I just think fresh start, fresh slate, and build this team out his own terms. And let's not get it twisted. The Jets are dysfunctional, but they have some really, really good players on their roster, some elite players. So I think Aaron Glenn has some things to work with, but Aaron Rodgers got to go.
Yeah, I would. I'd clean out his locker personally, and I'd hand him and stuff and say thank you for your time here in New York. We'll hopefully see you never. And then I would let him walk out of the building. That Jamal Adams meme when he walks up to the Jets facility and types in his code and it doesn't work? That would be Aaron Rodgers if I was that coach. So I think you should get rid of him. I would roll with Tyrod Taylor. He played he came in for 2 games for Aaron Rodgers and looked great. I don't know why people always think of this guy as some backup. He's probably better than Jameis Winston, and Jameis Winston had a starting job for 5 weeks with the Browns. I don't see why Tyrod Taylor couldn't keep a starting job. He had the starting job before the Chargers staff jammed a needle into his lungs, and then Justin Herbert started playing. So I don't know why, everywhere he goes, he plays well. He played well in Buffalo when he was there. So I don't know why the Jets wouldn't just give him. Maybe go after a quarterback in this draft. Maybe go get, Ewers if he's there. Go and get, Dylan Gabriel. I know he's short, but apparently he just threw an 80-mile-an-hour fastball with the fastest ball thrown ever in the Senior Bowl. He just threw it was 74 miles an hour or something like that. Faster than Josh Allen, faster than a couple other guys. So, people look at that, scouts look at that. Maybe go get him and bridge him. See what Jordan Travis can do in the preseason. You still got him under contract. But yeah, if you want to bridge a guy, I would keep Tyrod Taylor there. He's not going to be any worse than starting a rookie, or he's not going to be any worse than starting Aaron Rodgers, who didn't look great. So Aaron Glenn's got a tough hill to climb with this offense. You have some weapons in Breece Hall. I think Devontae Adams is still under contract. Garrett Wilson. It's just, can he keep guys around, change the culture, and hopefully, kind of bring them back to reality? And because I know Garrett Wilson said he wanted to potentially could have a trade. And then Sauce Gardner, tweeted out the fire emojis when Saleh got hired by the 49ers for their DC. So maybe he wants to trade and goes to the 49ers. I don't know. But I think Aaron Glenn's got a tough hill to climb to keep these guys back. I think they're tired of losing, I think. And I think he's just got to turn the ship.
Yeah, I definitely want to see Jordan Travis get in there at some point, see what he can do.
I think you'll see him in the preseason probably this year. His leg will probably be fully healthy.
For sure. All right, shout out Ish in the building. He says they should have stayed. Both former Lions coordinators should have stayed.
Ish, when you are Ben Johnson and you're getting the contract that the Bears gave him, and you give him to work with Caleb Williams, you're not turning that down, because if eventually he says no too many times to a head coaching job and that's really what he wants, then you got to take it. He feel like he took the best possible spot for him. I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at Aaron Glenn. He played for the Jets. It makes a lot of sense. These guys were the hottest guys on the market, pretty much, besides Mike Bravel. I mean, can't knock him. It's essential, man. You cannot get stagnant, man. Listen, you know how the coaching tree works. It's crazy. I think, like I said, it's a good sign for the Lions. That means they're developing coaches really well. So just move guys up. I'm not saying it's always flawless, but that's a good sign.
I promise you, people are going to be happy with Kelvin Shepard as the defensive coordinator.
I agree.
I said that again. I said that a long time ago. I don't know if it was on the show or if it was over text or something, but I knew that guy, or maybe it was when Hard Knocks aired. I said that was the guy that I think, because I was like calling for Aaron Glenn's head maybe the Hard Knocks year or the year 2 years ago, maybe. I don't remember when it was, but I thought Aaron Glenn was horrible, and then obviously he kind of, he kind of grew on me a little bit more, and I was like, why didn't the Shepard guy potentially, getting the job? So I think he's going to be great. As far as Ish's comment, I think both these coaches got the job, or both these coordinators got the jobs, head coaching jobs they wanted. I think that last year when they were interviewing for jobs, I think they were doing it as a formality just to kind of see the process. I think ultimately Ben Johnson, when he knew they were getting Caleb Williams, he wanted to coach in Chicago. And I think Aaron Glenn knew that the writing was on the wall for Saleh, and that he was going to be able to coach Jets. I mean, he played there for like 10 seasons. He played there for a long time. So I think he ultimately wanted. Yeah, they drafted him, and then I think he played like Adrian can look it up. He had a long career, dude. He played like 14 years or something crazy like that. So, and I think like 10 of them were with the Jets, 2 of them were with like Houston, and 1 was with the Saints for like a cup of coffee. Like he was something like that. Yeah. And so I mean, I think he wanted to be there. Everybody was making fun of him at his presser for saying like, "We're built for this. We're the damn Jets" or whatever. It's like the guy was drafted here, played his whole career here. So. I think these are both the jobs that these guys wanted, and I think that's why they left. I don't think they, like Adrian said, when a team cracks open a checkbook, especially the team like the Bears who don't have the money, like the Fords who own Ford Motor Company, like the McCaskies don't own another business. They're just one of the oldest franchises in NFL history. That's like their only claim to fame. They don't own a bunch of, they're not super rich people. I mean, they're super rich, but you know what I mean. So when you're the second highest paid head coach behind the guy who's going to the Super Bowl tomorrow and wearing red, then, that's people think highly of you.
Sure. Just get some feedback here. It says it's highly likely the Lions will go back to not making the playoffs this season and the past season, where the Lions' chances to go to the Super Bowl and actually win the thing, that window is shut now.
No, it's not.
I mean, you can keep saying, like, people can keep saying that, but, like, you still have all the players on the offensive side of the ball. You're supposed to get all your teams don't go 15-2 with the defensive roster that the Lions had. I mean, look at the 49ers. The 49ers flamed out and just did not have a good season because their defense was just riddled, and their offense was riddled with injuries. Like, when your team gets injured, you don't win games. Lions won 15 games this season, the most in history. Did they have a really bad game against a really hot Washington team coming off of a road win in Tampa? Yeah, they did, but I don't think you can say something like that. Look at the Eagles. The Eagles, they made it to a Super Bowl, lose, go back to the wild card game, get bounced in the wild card game, and then come back and go back to the Super Bowl. Like, they didn't lose any players. They got bounced in the wild card game. Is their window shut? No, they're back in the Super Bowl. Like, teams have ups and downs all the time, and injuries happen. So do I think the Lions still have top-tier talent in the league? Like, people forget that Aiden Hutchinson's a top 5 defensive end in the league. They can go get another guy that potentially could be that good. You have Zadarius Smith for one more year. Like, wait until you see, like, the whole team together. You can't just say the window's shut because they lost they lost the divisional round at home. Like, teams lose in the playoffs. It happens in football.
Yeah. People are just overreacting. I think people's morale is just a little down right now, coming off a disappointing playoff loss, and then the coordinator's leaving. But this is all a part of success. The Lions are fine. I don't think their Super Bowl window is shut.
It's tough. And football is a tough sport. It's not easy. There's so much change over time. Like I said, fans are still emotional. They're still talking about Jared Goff, not the quarterback. I can't with some of these Lions fans. Reid is one of the more rational Lion fans I know. Just calm down, relax, let them take care of it. They'll figure it out, and we'll talk about it next season. But they still haven't got over it. It's been a week and a half. I think Lion fans need a little more time to come down. Draft talk starting to heat up, so be all right.
Do you think Buffalo fans, after losing to the Kansas City Chiefs for the 4th time in a row, are going to go out there and say Josh Allen's not the guy when he's a top quarterback in the league? Do you think Baltimore Ravens fans are saying that Lamar Jackson's not the top guy in the league? Yeah, there's definitely some out there that are saying that, but not all of them are saying that when they have the top talent. Like, look at the year Jared Goff just had. The last 2 years, he's had 2 really solid years. Like, is he the guy who's going to, run around and create plays and do all this stuff? No, but he is a very solid quarterback. It just so happens that a lot of things went wrong for the Lions and it hurt him. So that just happens in football. You got to play around that. You have to adapt. You have to learn. And it just so happens that the Lions got punched in the mouth and couldn't get back up. That just stinks. And there's also a lot of things that went wrong in that game. Jared Goff took that blow to the head. I don't think he should have came back in. It happens. Like, brush it off. It's going to happen. Like, Dan Campbell's still your head coach. Like, people forget that he had a terrible first year, and now look what he's done since then. He's done nothing but win since that first bad year. And Brad Holmes is your GM. Like, Brad Holmes has proven he's a top 5 GM in the league too, with the talent that he's drafted and the guys that he's picked up.
Sure. Shout out Bashir in the building. Bashir says, I don't understand why we weren't in the running to get Salah.
Salah for more money.
As DC, a hometown guy.
Because the 49ers offered him they make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league, I believe. So Lions were going to offer that.
Something like that. I don't think the Lions are going to offer that one. And I don't know if he wanted to come back. I honestly think that once he lost out to Dan Campbell at the head coaching job when he interviewed for it, I just think that he didn't want to coach here again. It would have been sweet to get him, because I think he's a great defensive coordinator. But
absolutely,
like Raj said, I think you're going to be surprised Shepard. I think Shepard's going to come out and actually play. Like, he's you look at guys that like coordinators or people that get promoted within, a lot of times their understudies or their mentors are good coordinators that leave and they come up and play. Like, his mentor was Aaron Glenn. So now he gets to learn and he gets to run his own defensive scheme and figure everything out. So Salah would have been great, but I wouldn't put, I'm not kicking Shepard to the curb when he hasn't even started the job.
Yeah, like you said, it's just tough for us to have this conversation with Lions fans right now because they're not thinking logical right now. They're still emotional. Like you said, you don't see Bills fans losing their head. I think it'd be more frustrating right now at this moment to be a Bills fan than it would be to be a Lions fan. You literally cannot beat Patrick Mahomes right now. Literally.
Just be thankful that the only other guy that you got to go against is in Philadelphia. And
look at my team, for example.
Yeah. I'm sorry, people. If you think the Lions beat the Commanders and they have to go play Philly at home, I'm sorry. The Lions were going to get steamrolled by Philly. If you see how they just played the Commanders, like your offensive line, the offensive line for the Lions did not look great in that game against Washington. Jalen Carter would have been going crazy on Graham Glasgow, who looked terrible the last 2 weeks. Saquon Barkley is running for 200 yards on healthy defensive lines. You think he was going to not Swiss cheese this defensive line? You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith against 2 corners that aren't good on our team, with Terrion Arnold being a rookie and Amik Robertson, who did shut down Justin Jefferson but also got hurt in that game. So, we wouldn't have had Amik for that game. We wouldn't have had a lot of players. Like, they would have gotten steamrolled by Philly. I'm sorry. It would have happened. Like, you have to look at it that way. If Philly was just the better team, they're healthier, it would have happened.
Yeah, Jared Goff thinks he had a hard time against them, against the Commanders. Imagine what Philly would have did, especially with the way their secondary is playing. A.J. Brown would have absolutely abused any of the Lions corners that lined up against him. Yeah,
I mean, and I have a coworker who's like a diehard, like crazy Lions fan. He even agreed with me. He's like, if they played Philly, like there was no hope in beating Philly. Like that team was a juggernaut. Now, does Philly go in and walk Kansas City? I don't know, but I think they have the best chance to beat them. I honestly think this is the best team to go up against Kansas City because his defensive line's great. The run game's great. You have 2 good wide receivers. I think it's going to be, interesting to see. But the Lions weren't beating Philly.
Okay. I mean, Philly definitely a little healthier right now.
Yeah, a lot healthier.
All right, let's see. Bashir says, I like the new offensive coordinator. I think he'll bring something new and a little different. I mean, there's big shoes to fill, man. Ben Johnson was definitely one of the better offensive coordinators in the league, so we'll see. All right, and DC says Brad Holmes won the Executive of the Year award, I think.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I know. I mean, it's got to be Howie Roseman, right? I mean, that dude's just a freak. Howie Roseman just continues to just draft great players and just have like an amazing team.
Yeah. So, Adrian, there's a whole narrative out there that the Chiefs have the referees in their back pocket. So, are the Chiefs just that good? Are they just that good of a team, or are they cheating their way through and they have the refs in their back pocket?
Oh, there's no cheating. Do they get some calls that go their way sometimes? Just the Josh Allen spot was, obviously I could argue that was a first down. Probably was. It's weird. I know they get some questionable calls. I think a lot of people are just pissed off for the fact that Patrick Mahomes gets a lot of calls with the quarterbacks, especially like when he was sliding a couple weeks ago against the Texans and they hit each other and they called a flag, or where he fakes the defender into calling it. But now I think they're going to be able to, starting next season, maybe be able to review those kind of things. I think it's one of those things. I think the ultimate thing is also the fact that the Chiefs keep winning. That's turning them into the villain. People like them winning a couple times here and there, but now they just seem unstoppable and they can't be beat. But I'm not going to say it's the refs. Like I said, they do get some favorable calls, but when it comes down to it, the Chiefs always find a way to win. These teams always find a way to let the Chiefs hang into this game. I've compared Patrick Mahomes to Michael Myers. He just does not die. Like, the movies where they stab Michael Myers, they might shoot him or kill him or whatever they thought they do. But you didn't. You didn't cut his head off. You didn't cut his arm off. You didn't cut his leg off. You gave him a chance. And that's what it should do. The Bills did weird things in this game. Quarterback sneak, and although he maybe thought he should have got, he didn't. They weren't creative. James Cook didn't touch the ball in that last possession of the game. You do things like chasing points. It's 21-16. You're chasing points. I don't know, a couple of two-point conversions I don't think they should have went for. Just the most of the things. Even in the Texans game, the Texans missed 2 field goals in that game. They made some bad special teams plays. I just think it's attention to detail. And I just think a lot of teams miss that sometimes. So I think, hey, if you want to say the refs, give them some favorable calls. Hey, but we talk about the same thing in basketball. Stars get some favorable calls. It is what it is. But that's not the sole reason why they are here going for a three-peat. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I know Reid's gonna disagree with me, but it's just okay. I don't. It is what it is. Mind you, you're a Lions fan, so you don't have to be in the AFC conference with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. And meanwhile, my team's out here trying to figure out if Justin Fields or Russell Wilson's going to play quarterback next season. So,
I don't know what you're complaining about. Did you have a Pro Bowl quarterback?
That's a guy making a Pro Bowl. Come on,
Russell Wilson announced to the Pro Bowl today.
Yep. We know how valid the Pro Bowl is, right? Do I think the refs are in their back pocket? No. Like, I don't think that they're paying off the refs by any means. I think the refs do give favorable calls. Like, there is a lot of evidence. There was someone that broke down the penalty calls against the Chiefs for certain penalties versus penalties against the opponents that they play. The Chiefs have been called for less of those penalties than their opposing teams. It's like 6-1. It's like crazy stats. I think Patrick Mahomes, they're talking about doing a change of rule for the slide now because of him. Do I think Patrick Mahomes is great? Yeah, I think he is great. I just think that there's a lot of times where there's things that happen to Patrick Mahomes that don't happen to a lot of other players. You saw it with Brady too. It happened with Brady. You just got to kind of realize that fourth or the third down pass to Dalton Kincaid. I think that was a first down. They spotted him short. Then you saw the Josh Allen run, which I don't know why they're tush push. Like, you can't just emulate the Eagles. Like, Josh Allen's 6'6", like 250. Like, he can't get through the bottom of that. Like, they can't emulate that tush push somehow. Dalton Kincaid again didn't even look like he tried to push Josh Allen. He got stood up instead of going down low like Jalen Hurts does. So Yeah, I think Josh Allen got it. The one judge gave it to him who was looking at the ball. The one who had Josh Allen's back cut him short. But like Adrian said, I mean, just mixed plays or bad plays that were called from McDermott. I think McDermott should be in the hot seat. A guy that would be good for them to look into if he does get fired is their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, who I think is a great who could be a great head coach. My real tinfoil theory is that they're going to go. The Bengals are going to go 9-8 again next season, and then Joe Brady's going to get hired and be reunited with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I think that'd be the right move for the Bengals. But how much do they want to pay them? They don't pay their players. Are they going to pay a head coach? So, I think the Bills just kind of shot themselves in the foot. I do think the Chiefs get favorable calls. It'll be interesting to see, a team like a juggernaut like Philly go up against, what seemed to be a struggling Chiefs team this year. But there was just, there's a few calls in the games that you see that, you just wonder. The one catch was Xavier Worthy where they came down with the ball and they gave it to Xavier Worthy, even though the defender had it. It's just some weird rule. It's like tie goes to the runner. They gave it to the receiver because he ripped it out. It's just, there's a lot of weird things that happen, but it's just the way that's what's going to happen when you're the best in football. The Patriots got it. It's going to slide their way most of the time. And I don't think they're like having meetings and be like, oh, we have to give the Chiefs the three-peat because it'll make history and it'll make ratings go up. The Super Bowl is going to be watched no matter what by everybody. So it is what it is. It's just you got to live with it.
If I had $1 for it, every time I heard somebody say, "Oh, I'm not watching it," everybody's going to be watching it. Like just cut it out.
I did say if I'm home by myself and the Super Bowl's on, I don't know unless it's like an interesting game, I'll turn it on. But I'm not going to like if I look at the score and it's like 7-3 at the half, I probably won't watch the second half. If I'm at a Super Bowl party, I'll watch it. But if I'm just at home by myself, I probably won't watch it.
He'll be watching it.
Yeah, he's gonna watch it.
Reid be watching.
I've been trying so hard to catch up on my video games that I haven't been able to play all week. I'm gonna be catching up on those probably. Although it is a Sunday.
All right, let's see. That's because literally no one wants to see a Chiefs versus Eagles rematch for the Super Bowl.
I think a lot of people want to see it actually.
I think it's and I'm gonna preface this is as the teams are currently constructed going into the playoffs. Now, if the Lions were healthy, I would say the Lions would be the best matchup. But currently constructed, this is the best possible matchup that you could get for the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
I think the Bills would have gotten steamrolled by the Eagles, honestly. The way that they played. The Bills just can't get out of their own way with like offensive players. Like obviously I still think Keon's going to be great. Rookie wide receivers aren't always amazing. He still had a good year. He was hurt for a few games. But like Mari Cooper was nowhere to be found. Dalton Kincaid hasn't really like shown you that he's the first round tight end that you drafted. Their defense looks good, but they've had some injuries. Russo's good, Oliver's good. It just there's something about this offense they can't get going, and I think they need like a true one wide receiver. I think Josh Allen needs a Amon-Ra type guy that he can just old reliable go to. And everybody's like they should have taken Xavier Worthy. I don't think he really would have like fit their offense the way that they would want to play him. So I think he needs a guy that's just like needs a Golden Tate, a St. Brown, that old reliable guy. You can just a Doug Baldwin. Remember Doug Baldwin on the Seahawks was kind of Russell Wilson's safety net for a while. I think there's just that.
For sure. All right, let's see some feedback here. David said, "Reid, do you like Verse or Carter for defensive rookie of the year?"
Florida State bias aside, I would still say Verse. They had the same amount of sacks, but Jalen Carter's an interior guy versus an edge guy. They generally give defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year to edge players for the most part, unless you're Sauce Gardner versus Aiden Hutchinson. But yeah, I think it's gonna go to Verse. He has more tackles, same amount of sacks as an edge player. Generally, middle interior defensive linemen get more tackles with the running backs and everything like that. So I think it's going to ultimately go to Verse. But Carter has had, he's not had a slouch of a season. He's a freak. He's an athletic freak. Everybody keeps saying, too, oh, well, the Lions could have had him over Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs was arguably top 2 running back in the league, top 3 running back in the league for sure. I'm not worried about that. So you got Jack Campbell, who's going to be a great, linebacker. It's just, again, Howie Roseman's a freak, and there's what, Jalen Carter got drafted 6th? What did he get drafted?
I think 8th or 9th.
Something like that. I mean, there was like 4 other teams that passed on him that could have used him, and they all passed on him too. So it's like, yeah, could the Lions have had him? Sure. But I think it's going to go to Verse ultimately. Yeah,
I mean, it's going to go to Verse. I agree, because Jalen Carter's in his second year. So he can't even win it anyways.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He is in his second year, isn't he? I completely forgot about that.
Well, there you go. Verse is going to win it. All right, so Reid, Israel Adesanya, he's making his way back to the ring this Saturday. Hasn't fought since August. He's fighting Imavov, the Frenchman. He is favored in this one. So what are you expecting to see from Adesanya in the ring this Saturday?
Yeah, I think he's going to just go back to regular Adesanya. I mean, I'm not a fan of his by any means, but I mean, he is a great UFC fighter. He showed in the past. His only problem is that he just ran into greatness and Alex Pereira, and they've had that, a long time rivalry. But Alex Pereira has shown that he's ran through everybody else. So I think Israel is going to come back. I think he's going to be the same old fighter. I think he's going to win this fight, easily. So I mean, I'll take him in that one any day of the week.
Yeah, I'm going with our boy Adesanya. He needs to bounce back. Like you said, he's running to some buzzsaws, but I think he wins this fight and gets back on track. Fighting relatively faster than he did before then, so this is a much needed win for him. I think he get it, but I do hate that this fight card is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
the card kicks off at noon. It's very frustrating, but
yeah.
The thing about me with these UFC fights in Saudi Arabia is I always forget that they're on at noon. I'm like, oh, UFC is going to be on tonight. And then I look and it's like, it'll be like 5 o'clock and I'll be like, oh, one of the prelims are going to be starting here. And wait, this fight, it's almost over. What's going on? Like, I always forget that they start so early.
Yeah. I'm expecting Adesanya to win. He had lost his last 2 fights. He's going to jump back on the winning side. He's a minus 160 on the money line. So yeah, I'm looking for an Adesanya win this Saturday. For sure. All right. So my last thing here. So we got the dunk contest, man, the NBA dunk contest. They did announce who's going to be in it. It's Mac McClung, who won it before. You got Stephon Castle, the rookie for the Spurs. You got Buzulis for the rookie for the
Bulls.
The Bulls, and then Bucks guard Andre Jackson Jr. So Adrian, what can the NBA do to fix and help the dunk contest?
There's only one solution, and it's not going to happen, and that is to get the stars in the game. We've talked about it for years. LeBron James and John Morant, Zion Williamson, and Anthony Edwards. I mean, it was cool back in the early 2000s. In the 2000s, you had a mix of like some of the stars and some of the really, really good in-game dunkers, like a Jason Richardson, Andre Iguodala. I'll take it back even to Desmond Mason. You guys don't know about Desmond Mason, former Milwaukee Bucks, Seattle Supersonics guy. It was just Vince Carter. It was just more exciting. These guys just like they make too much money. They just don't care. There's no love for it anymore. And when we pretty much done seen every dunk you can pretty much do at that. So I think if you don't have the star power and these guys aren't giving you jumping from the half court line, there's nothing you can do. But that's my opinion. Only option you can do.
Yeah, I'm with Adrian. I mean, I think it may have been Gilbert Arenas who said it recently on a podcast or something like that. The stars don't go into it. Adrian just made the great point of like you've seen everybody jump over a car. You've seen everybody jump over Shaq. You've seen everybody jump over, the tallest guy around. It's like you can only do that so many times. You can only do this, so many like blowing the candle out at the top of the basket. You can do, you can only do them so many. Like people are doing the double Vince Carter with the arms, and they're doing like it was cool when Vince Carter did it because no one else did it. But now we've seen it, and we know that like athletes nowadays are in better shape than a lot of the guys were back in the day. I mean, you went back to those earlier years, but I mean, even Blake Griffin's dunk contest when he jumped over the Kia, that was impressive at the time. You have the
like Levine and Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, Levine, Aaron Gordon was probably the last good one.
That was the last good one.
Yeah, that was probably the last good one you had. But like, I mean, what are we doing bringing like Mac McClung into this? Like, he was a cool story like a decade ago when he was like doing it in high school, and he's like this short white kid. Like, that's cool. But like when you do it 2 years in a row, like he's in the G League, he's not even playing in the NBA. Like, I would honestly like the only thing that maybe would interested into me is just get like super freak athletes. Like everybody always talks about the Thompson twins and how they can jump out of the gym. LeBron said it, like Kobe said it, like get that. Like if you want to try and get the guys whose like head can reach the top of the backboard when they're going to dunk, like that would be interesting to me. Like you get them, you get like I hate him, but you get Jalen Green. He's got bounce, like he can get up there. Like you get guys that can really jump. Sure, like I'd like to see that. Or might even make it more interesting. Raise the basket. Like if you want to make it better, like raise the basket, to 12 or something. Like when Dwight Howard did it, back in the Superman days. Like raise the basket a little bit. Maybe that would make it a little more interesting. Make it harder for guys to do it. Make them, be more creative when they dunk. I just think that it's stale, it's stagnant. Like there's a lot of things that they do in the NBA All-Star game. It used to be like this great thing to watch. Like everybody always watched the NBA All-Star game over the Pro Bowl, over a lot of these other things. Like it's just lost its luster over the years, and there's not much more you can really do to change it because you're so limited in the ways of what people have already done in past, All-Star games. Like I'll go to the Pro Bowl and this rant, but like, I'm switching over obviously, but the Pro Bowl is like not cool anymore because it's just a bunch of guys playing flag football and then pushing sleds like through obstacle courses. Like one thing I would like to see when you bring guys back, like bring back that throwing contest they used to do where they would have, Peyton Manning, the accuracy contest, or like the longest ball. Like those would be cool to bring back, but they're not going to do that. They're going to keep bringing the flag football and like all these like backyard, recess type things. So I think the NBA is kind of stuck in stagnant water with just how limited they are than what they can do because we've seen it all already.
Also, I think
if guys like Ja and Zion would have did it when they first came in the league, I think that would have set a different tone for the dunk contest as well.
Yeah,
you're talking about having the only way I think those guys actually would even do it. I think the problem is social media too makes it to where these guys lose and they're so worried about the public perception and how it's going to affect their brand. But also, you would have to offer these guys $15 to $20 million to even participate, or say the winner gets that. But the NBA is not doing that, so there's really nothing. There's no going back from it now. And then also, the season's long. I get it, 82 games is long, so most of these guys get to the All-Star break and they want that week off where they don't have to do anything. That's why they've been half-assing an All-Star game for the last 5-6 years. So.
Like, do they announce who's like even the 3-point contest to me is kind of getting a little old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't even know who's in it, but like they did that cool thing where it was Steph and Enescu last year. Like, I think it'd be cool if you bring out like Steph and Sabrina versus like Caitlin Clark and Clay, or like another great 3-point shooter. And they always want to talk about making the WNBA more popular, incorporate them maybe a little bit more into some of these. Maybe do like a WNBA, like I know you don't see a lot of them like do creative dunks, but do like a raised rim for the men and a lower rim for the women, and then do like a team dunk contest there where it's a WNBA and an NBA player, and there's 3 sets of 2, and see if they can like create something off of that. Like those would be interesting things that can change it up that we haven't seen before. I just don't think they're going to do that because they're just losing viewership now anyway as it is. So it's just. You have to do something that's fresh and new, and they're just won't. I don't think it's going to end up happening.
Sure, it'll be the Mac McClung show this weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
Or next weekend, excuse me.
I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, last thing. So the NBA All-Star reserves will be announced this Thursday on the TNT pre-show. So we'll know if Cade gets in, if he's going to be All-Star or not. I personally think he's going to be in. I don't see why he
better be, or Tuesday you will see me go on probably the craziest rant I've ever went on in my life. I will be pulling every statistical category, every point I can make will be brought out for that.
We'll need Rob on that show for sure. He'll enjoy those. Me and Adrian just crashing out over Cade not being an All-Star if he doesn't make it.
I don't think y'all gonna need to crash out, man. I think Cade's gonna be in there. I think he's gonna get it.
Yeah,
All right, cool. So good show. Anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
Carolina is about to tip off big game tonight at the zoo at Pitt. Needed after that embarrassing W, they barely survived against Boston College. So fighting for the tournament life right now. Michigan State's up 20 at the half.
Yeah, the half just started. Second half just started.
Michigan pulled a crazy win out last night at home against Penn State. So both college basketball teams here in the state are playing well.
Yeah. State, don't sleep on State this year, man. They got the potential to make a deep tournament run, so we'll see.
I hope so. I'd like to see Tom Izzo get one more national championship before he calls it quits.
Me too.
For sure. All right. Well, yeah, good show. You guys watching, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all like the video. And sports update Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. I'll see you boys next week.
Peace.
Peace.